I'm Tim, welcome to Watch One, and thanks for logging on. Today we're looking at the Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Compressor Chronograph Valentino Rossi Limited Edition from 2007, a limited series of 746, appropriately enough, 41.5 millimeters in stainless steel. You can see this Valentino Rossi on our website, watchyowant.com. You can buy it if you like, and if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Watch You Want Inc. On my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference. You can see the proportions of this watch are just right for a nice versatile sporting reference. This is a watch with a white metal and a dark dial that you can wear in essentially any attire, any situation. With 100-meter water resistance, you can even take it swimming. This could be your only watch, your one and only. With just enough color to add personality, but not so much as to overwhelm, the watch has an upbeat disposition befitting its namesake. Now, my wrist is 6 1/3 inches in circumference, but critically, the watch has reasonable lug span. It's definitely a large 41.5, but the nice thing about it is that the lugs, after they project outward, turn down sharply at the edges. So the watch will fill a smaller wrist, but it won't overwhelm it. And because the straps can pull down perpendicular to the span of the case, you don't have to worry about the fact that the strap is heavily bolstered and the case is a fairly large one for 41.5. Only 13.3 millimeters thick. When you put it on the wrist and buckle it down, it actually sits even a little bit lower than that. And the curved bezel ensures that the watch is not going to have any trouble fitting under a tight sleeve. So ergonomically, the Rossi is a triumph. Now, the strap is a special piece because with a double contrasting stitch and a nice sharply defined bolstered portion down its center, it has a lot of character to it and it really suits the watch perfectly. It's matched to JLC's third generation deployant buckle. So there was the first generation of the 1990s, which was a single swing arm. They made it a little bit thicker and continued with the single swing arm right up until about 2005-2006 when this design debuted. With the double swing arm, it's much easier to buckle this down onto a small wrist. It's also more upscale, being more intricate in design, lower in profile, and lighter overall in its construction. That's a nice piece, and it's well suited to this watch. Versatile like the timepiece itself. It also preserves, when it's buckled, the low-profile look of a traditional pin buckle. But the highlight is the case. Now, the Master Compressor Chronograph was part of the flowering of JLC sports watch references in the early to mid-2000s, and in 2007, JLC announced its partnership with Valentino Rossi. Today, you know him as the 6-time Moto Grand Prix champion. From the lower engine formula up to Moto Grand Prix, he actually has 9 world championships in total, and though an elder statesman of the Moto Grand Prix circuit today, he remains a living legend and a perennial title contender. This watch is a tribute to him circa 2007, when he was merely great. Today he's a legend, and the next owner of this watch will benefit from that cool sports association. But the watch is not dependent on it. I want to break down the aesthetics of this watch, talk about how it succeeds on its own terms. Now, there is a carbon fiber pattern to the dial that might be a little bit difficult to relate in the lightbox with the iPhone, but it is there, and in person, it's subtle, but it's striking enough to give the watch a clear, independent identity that separates it from the traditional galvanized black dial, Master Compressor Chronograph, and Chronograph 2. Now, on top of that black carbon fiber pattern dial, you see a sort of adapted version of the Master Compressor Chronograph look. You see the yellow accents, emblematic of Rossi. It's not so overtly co-branded to tie it to an identifiable person, although the 46 is a standout element. Some are going to love it, some are going to leave it, but the bottom line is this doesn't say Rossi anywhere on it. So it's just a nice combination of white, black, yellow, and a small amount of blue color splashes that give it an upbeat, sunny, almost semi-tropical vibe. Now, the Master compressors were standouts because they achieved 100-meter water resistance minimally using a 1/2 turn compressor crown solution that JLC designed. The compressor crowns really define the look of these watches more than any other single feature, and they're what set the watches apart aesthetically and technically from their peers in the sports watch category. Now here, the red open indication of the traditional Master compressor has been replaced by Rossi yellow, and you can see that the yellow is evident whenever the crowns are unlocked. So no more than a 1/2 turn is required to get 100 meters of water resistance. That's 330 feet for those of us stateside. The advantage is that whether you're wearing dive gloves or Moto Grand Prix gloves, It's easy to get a hold of the wing nuts themselves. The compressor crowns are easy to manipulate. They're nothing like a traditional tight screw-down crown, and because they have these burly shoulders around them, the compressor caps actually they double as crown guards for the pushers and the crown, so the case itself has a slimmer, pared-down look to it. Very convenient. It's a functional as well as an aesthetic trademark of the compressor series. Now, the watch does feature a distinctive case back, once again a tribute to Rossi, here in black and white lacquer, individually numbered for 746 pieces with Valentino's personal signature inscribed below the 46. It's definitely a different look for the master compressors, and although the caseback is solid, no one can argue that this caseback is underserved. Polished, lacquered, inscribed, and brushed around its circumference, this is arguably more entertaining than looking at half of an automatic movement as the rotor circulates endlessly. But the automatic movement of this watch really is a highlight. If not to view, certainly from an intellectual perspective, JLC's vertical clutch column wheel caliber 751 is a masterpiece, quite satisfying from a technical perspective. JLC launched its first automatic chronograph caliber ever in the 2000s on the Master Compressor Chronograph series. With a 65-hour power reserve courtesy of dual mainspring barrels, it's every inch the equal of Rolex's Daytona caliber 4130. With long autonomy, you can put this watch down for a day or two with no need to rewind it in between. With unidirectional automatic winding on ceramic unlubricated rotor bearings, it's both efficient and low maintenance. Now, it features the famed spire-cut gear profile developed by JLC in consortium with a number of other manufacturers to essentially increase the efficiency of the drivetrain so it wears down less and gets more mileage out of those dual mainspring barrels. Now, the watch is easily capable of pulling COSC timing. Although not certified as a chronometer on our chronoscope, it's running beyond COSC to about plus 3 seconds per day, pretty much regardless of position. The watch is a masterclass. With the column wheel, it's satisfying to activate. You can hear that. Listen carefully. You can hear and you can feel the crisp tuning of that JLC column wheel mechanism, and because it is a vertical clutch, you can keep the chronograph continuously engaged. If you prefer the legibility and the practicality of center sweep seconds to a continuous second subdial, this is the solution you want. A vertical clutch means you can just keep that chronograph seconds hand sweeping, only to stop it and reset it when you actually need the chronograph function to pull duty. Now, the nice thing about the vertical clutch is also that when it stops without stagger. There's no play between the teeth, the coupling gears of a lateral clutch. The vertical clutch is more sophisticated, it's more modern, it's more difficult to achieve, but you would expect no less from a manufacturer of the caliber of JLC. Here's another advantage. When you start it, it starts without the jump of a horizontal clutch. So both more precise and more durable in the long term. There's a lot of quality engineered into this watch. Free sprung with a laser welded hairspring at the stud and the collet, it's very much an action-packed concept worthy of the name Valentino Rossi. But even if you don't ply your trade on Moto Grand Prix motorcycles from Yamaha, Honda, or Ducati, the free-sprung setup means that the shocks and disruptions of daily life on your wrist aren't going to upset the timing of this watch. JLC builds its cases, it builds its movements, it has its own in-house art department that designs its watches. So this is a manufactured product through and through, beautifully executed, and just anonymous enough that no one's going to explicitly identify it with Rossi unless they know the exact reference or they're absolutely obsessed with the man and they identify him with the number 46. It's definitely got a different look than the traditional black, white, and red accented Master Compressor Chronograph or Chronograph 2. You can see it, and if you like, you can ride it home on our website, watchyouwant.com.